Okay, excellent. So, come to your mat. And we're going to start tonight coming into our supine Baddha Konasana. So take the soles of the feet together and let your knees fall out to the side. And then just gently roll down onto your back. And come into lying on your back, knees just falling out to the side, just letting gravity take effect. Keeping the soles of the feet together. Letting the hips relax into the mat, letting the shoulders relax into the mat. Taking one hand, gently placing it over your belly, and taking the other hand, gently placing it over your heart center. And just taking a few moments here to relax, let go of our day, leave behind our worries and our cares. Starting to become mindful, become present on our mats. Taking our awareness to our breath and our breathing and watching that breath, becoming that silent witness to the breath, just monitoring it, observing. Just observing the breath is shallow, fast. Can you slow it down? Can you even it out? Can you make the exhale as long as the inhale? So really taking the awareness of that breathing, trying to switch off that mind, not thinking about what we've just done or earlier in the day, not thinking about what we're going to do next, just thinking about the here and the now, checking in with the body. Are you doing a quick body scan, seeing if there's any areas that you're holding, any tension, any stress? And see if you can just let that stress go, just let that stress fall away. Taking a nice deep inhale, and as you inhale, filling up those lungs, as you fill up those lungs, feeling that chest expanding, feeling the hand on the chest rising, feeling the hand on the belly rising as that air just gently moves down, fills up that diaphragm, pushes that diaphragm into the belly. Exhaling, feeling the hand lowering, feeling the chest lowering as you gently let all the air out of the lungs. Inhaling again, nice and deeply, really filling up those lungs, filling up that belly. Observing that breath, watching what the breath does to the body. Notice the impact of the breath. Notice the impact of a nice full breath. And exhaling, letting all the air go. Letting all that tension go as you exhale. Inhaling again, filling up those lungs, filling up that belly with air. Exhaling, just letting all that air go. Inhaling again, nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly, just letting the air slowly travel up from the belly, through the lungs, up, out through the nose. And one more time, take a nice deep big inhale. A nice long slow exhale. Noticing how calm and centered the mind becomes as you slow down that breath. Taking the focus, the breathing is a really useful tool to use throughout your day. When you're feeling a little bit stressed, a little bit tense, just come back to that breath and slow down that breathing. And notice how it lets all the tension go from the body, and it helps calm and center the mind. And then from here, gently taking the knees together and just rocking over onto your side and coming into that fetal position in your side just for a moment before pushing yourself all the way back up to seated and coming into that nice easy seat on your mat. Crossing the legs if you can, maybe slipping a block or a pillow underneath the hips if you have any tension through the knees. Sitting up nice and tall, feeling those seat bones grounded down to the earth. Feeling that lengthening through that spine as you lift up nice and tall through that spine. Taking the shoulders down the back, relaxing through the shoulders. Letting the head just sit gently on top of the spine. Remembering to breathe nice and deeply, exhale nice and slowly, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose if you can. Using that breath to help guide and support our practice. Remembering at any point in your practice, you can come back to child's pose, rest, and then join back in when you can. Also remembering that it's your practice, it's your journey. If a pose doesn't feel good, you can back out from the pose, come back into child's pose. No stress, no strain, and certainly never any pain in yoga. So sitting up nice and tall, and then inhaling, taking the arms, reaching them all the way up above your head, reaching up nice and tall, feeling that lengthening through the spine, feeling that expanding through the rib cage. Exhaling, taking that right hand down just beside your right hip, taking that left hand up and over the left ear, and just coming through a nice gentle stretch, opening through that left hand side of the body. Breathing in nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. Well done. And inhaling, coming all the way back up and reaching those arms all the way up to the sky, finding that length through the torso. And exhaling, taking that left hand down beside that left hip and stretching and opening up through that right side of the body. Inhaling nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. Always returning to the breath. And then gently on the inhale, coming all the way back to the center, sitting up nice and tall. Moving through our seated cat-cow stretches. Inhaling and start to take the chest forward. And as you take the chest forward, also lift it up and away from the waist. And then exhaling, just gently curling that spine all the way in and tucking yourself all the way in. Curling through the spine. Inhaling, opening up through that chest, lifting that heart part up and away from the hips. Exhaling, curling everything in, taking gentle mobility through that spine, warming up that spine as you move in one direction, inhaling and opening up through the chest, and then exhaling and taking the spine in the other direction. And then again, inhaling and mobilizing that spine, warming everything up. Exhaling, curling everything back in. And then inhaling and coming all the way back to the center. From here, coming over onto our hands and knees, coming into that nice, easy, neutral tabletop, checking the hands are roughly underneath the shoulders and that the knees are underneath the hips. Take a moment here just to stay in that tabletop, feeling the neutrality through the spine, opening up through that rib cage, opening up through the collarbones. And then gently curling through the toes, starting to take the hips back over the heels, and then lifting your tailbone up towards the sky. Push yourself up into a nice, easy forward fold, gentle downward dog. Taking that bend through the knees, just gently walking and pedaling your dog. Letting the tension go through the shoulders, letting the tension go through the neck. Just hold here for a few moments. Gently walking through the feet, through the ankles, through the backs of the legs. And then from here, looking forward towards the hands, gently lifting up that left foot, stepping up behind the left hand, and the right foot stepping up behind the right hand. So your feet are roughly about a hip width distance apart, a deep bend through the knees, and coming into a nice, easy forward fold here. Breathing into our forward fold. And exhaling nice and deeply, lifting up that navel, taking that navel in and up, engaging through that pelvic floor and keeping the shoulders away from the ears, trying to let the tension go through the neck and the shoulders. And then taking a hold of the opposite elbows, coming into a nice ragdoll. Maybe gently swinging your ragdoll from side to side if it feels good for you. But if it doesn't feel good and you just want to hang in that ragdoll, that's absolutely fine. From here, trying to really let go, feeling the tension start to drift away from the neck and the shoulders. Feeling nice, opening up through the hamstrings. Just moving however feels good for you here. Just trying to let go of any stress and any tension in the body. Maybe doing again another big quick body scan just to check if you're holding tension anywhere. Really monitoring the body, checking in, listening to the body all the way throughout our yoga practice. knowing, knowing when we've come far enough in a pose, knowing when we can go that little bit further. And then from here, gently letting go of the elbows. Again, keeping that deep bend through the knees. Start to uncurl through the spine, coming up slowly and gently, vertebra by vertebra, just slowly unrolling through that spine. Keeping that bend through the knees, coming up nice and slow, nice and easy. Coming back into our Tadasana, our mountain pose. So from here, the feet are roughly about a hip width distance apart, feeling all four corners of the feet grounding down into the earth. Maybe a soft baby micro bend through the knees. Not locking anything out here, just keeping nice and loose. Engaging through the core, taking the shoulders back and down, and finding that strength in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. Take an inhale here. And a nice long exhale. Well done, everybody. So moving through classical Surya Namaskara A, we'll do the right and the left leg. Walking through the first time nice and slowly, nice and gently, maybe speeding up the second time round. So inhaling, taking the arms up towards either through the midline of the body or up outside the body, however feels good for you. And then exhaling, coming all the way down into a nice easy forward fold, keeping that bend through the knees until we're fully warmed up. Inhaling, taking a step back with that right leg, dropping that right knee down onto the mat, and then letting go of those right toes. And holding here in our Anjasana, our low lunge. Feeling a gentle opening up through that right hip flexor, but only come as deep or as low as feels good for you. Remember, we are warming up here. So just come and feel that opening through that right hip flexor, engaging through that core, keeping the shoulders away from the ears, nice long straight back. And then inhaling, and as you inhale, lifting up through the arms and taking the arms up towards the sky and reaching the arms up and feeling that opening up again through that front of the body, all the way down that front line of the body. And then exhaling, coming all the way down, taking the hands back outside that front left foot. Inhaling, taking that left knee back and taking that left knee parallel to the right knee. And then as you exhale, sitting back into our child's pose. Remember, you have the option with child's pose. Your hands can be out in front, but if there's any discomfort through the elbows, feel free to bend your arms slightly or take the arms behind you and lay them beside your hips. And just hold in that child's pose just for a moment. Take a nice deep inhale. A nice long exhale. And then inhaling, and as you start to inhale, coming up through into a tabletop, and then start to wave that spine forward through that tabletop as you gently walk the hands forward and come to lie down, face down on your mats. From here, taking the hands out, just outside the side of your mats, coming up onto your fingertips into our gecko fingers. And then from here, inhaling as you inhale, coming up through a baby cobra, and start to just move from side to side. So just gently taking that chest just a little bit off the floor. We're not looking for a full cobra here, a nice baby cobra, and just move from side to side, waving through the shoulders, waving through the neck, through the upper back. Looking for some release through the shoulders. So just moving however feels good for you. Taking some movement through any tight spots. Just letting that tension go from the neck and the shoulders. Notorious areas for holding on to tension. So see if we can breathe in and let that go. And then gently release, taking the hands back down underneath the shoulders, taking the forehead back down onto the mats. Inhaling here, and as you inhale, lifting up through that core and lifting yourself up and coming all the way up into that tabletop. Exhaling, taking the hips all the way back over the heels and coming back into that child's pose. Whichever variation works for you today. Hands can be out front or they can be behind you at your hips. Take a nice deep inhale and a nice long exhale. Well done. Inhaling, lifting yourself up through into tabletop, and at the same time lifting up that right knee and taking that right knee forward and taking that right foot forward in between your hands at the front of the mat. Coming back into our Anjasana, our low lunge on the left side here, feeling the opening up through that left hip flexor. So from here, think about a nice long tall spine, shoulders away from the ears, navel in and up, Nice long straight back. And feeling that opening through that hip flexor. Take an inhale and an exhale. And then on the next inhale, lifting yourself up, taking the arms up towards the sky, opening up through that left hip flexor. And then exhaling, taking the hands back outside that front right foot. Inhaling, coming up onto the toes of that back left foot. And then taking that left foot forward to meet the right. Taking your feet roughly about a hip width distance apart. And on the exhale, coming into a nice, easy forward fold. Remembering that soft bend through the knees, maybe taking a deeper bend if that feels good for you. Remember, we're warming up here. You don't have to straighten out through the legs. And in fact, if it's any discomfort or if you find that you can only get your hands down onto the mat by keeping that soft bend, then by all means, keep that soft bend throughout the practice. Always mindful, always respectful of the knees. Very complicated joints, so we have to be careful. Take a nice deep inhale here, a nice long exhale again, feeling the opening up through all the way down the back of the leg. And then from here, gently dropping the hips as though you're about to sit down in a chair, lifting the arms up in line with the ears. And then as you inhale, lifting yourself all the way up to standing, reaching up nice and tall. Exhaling, taking your hands down to your heart center. Samastitihi. Well done, everybody. Take a nice deep inhale. A nice long exhale. And let's repeat on the left, maybe speeding it up just a little bit. Inhaling, taking the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming down into that forward fold, remembering that soft bend if you can. Inhaling, taking a step back with that left leg, dropping that left knee down on the mat, letting go of those left toes. Coming through into that low lunge. Inhaling, lifting the arms all the way up to the sky, feeling an even deeper stretch through that hip flexor. Exhaling, taking the hands back outside that front foot. Inhaling, picking up that front foot and taking that right knee back towards the left, coming parallel with knees. Exhaling, coming all the way back into that child's pose, Inhaling here nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. And then inhaling as you inhale, pulling through that tabletop, waving through the spine. And then start to walk the hands forward as you gently come down to lying face down on the mats. From here, taking your hands just underneath your shoulders, moving through a cobra, coming to whatever variation or degree of cobra feels good for you. So inhaling, lifting up, maybe just to a baby cobra, or maybe coming all the way up into a full cobra. Wherever you're at today, stay there and enjoy the pose. Exhaling, coming all the way back down to lying on the mats. Inhaling, lifting up through that core to lift you up into that tabletop. And then exhaling, coming all the way back into that child's pose. Inhaling nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. And then inhaling, lifting yourself up into tabletop. And at the same time, lifting up that left knee and taking that left knee forward in between your hands at the front of the mat, coming into that low lunge. Inhaling, lifting the arms up towards the sky, feeling it opening up through that right hip flexor. Exhaling, taking the hands outside that front left foot. Inhaling, coming up onto the toes of that back right foot. And then taking that right foot forward to meet the left, coming parallel with feet. And exhaling, coming all the way down into a nice, easy forward fold. Inhaling nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly, keeping that bend through the knees here. And then from here, just start to walk the hands over towards the left side of your mat, leaving your feet where they are, and just opening up through that left side, the right side of the torso, Feel that opening up through that right side. And then gently coming back to the center and taking a nice deep inhale. As you exhale, walking the hands all the way over to the right side of the mat, leaving the feet where they are, and feeling the opening through the left side of the body here. Well done. And gently coming back to the center. From here, sitting back through the heels, sitting back through the hips as though you're about to sit down in a chair, lifting the arms up in line with the ears, and inhaling, lifting up through that core as you lift yourself all the way up to standing, reaching up nice and tall. Exhaling, taking your hands to your heart center. Samastitihi. Well done, everybody. Nice deep inhale. Nice long exhale. And then just letting the hands hang by your side, letting the feet go. Just stepping back a little bit more into the middle of your mat, standing up nice and tall. Moving through some leg swings just to keep everything nice and mobile, everything nice and fluid. So taking that right leg forward, that left arm forward, and then just start to swing that left leg backwards and forwards, swinging with the arms. Again, we're just keeping everything nice and loose, everything nice and fluid. Letting the tension go through the arms, letting the tension go through the hips. And then slowly, gently put that right foot down, and we'll repeat on the left side. So taking that left foot gently forward, that right arm forward, and then start to swing. Nice and gently, forward and backwards with the legs and the arms. Just encouraging the body here to let go of tension. Sometimes we hold the tension, we don't even realize we're holding it. So we're just encouraging the system and the body to just release. And then gently come all the way back up to the center, coming into our Tadasana, our mountain pose. So moving through Surya Namaskara A. If you're used to keeping the toes together and feet together through your sun salutations, then you can do so. If you're relatively new to yoga or have any lower back issues, then feel free to take your legs, your feet hip width distance apart, and just help protect that lower sacral area. So it's your choice, your practice, you go with whatever feels good for you here today. So inhaling, taking the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming down through into that forward fold. You can have a straight leg or a bent knee. It's your practice, you choose. Inhaling, coming halfway up into our L shape, taking the hands onto the shins, opening up, straightening up through that back, taking the shoulders away from the ears, navel in and up. Exhaling, coming all the way down through into that forward fold. Inhaling, taking a step back with one foot, and then step back with the other foot. And then as you exhale, push yourself back into that downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then from here, gently dropping down onto the knees and then lowering yourself down onto your belly. Letting go of those toes. Inhaling, lifting up through the spine. Curling up, coming through into that cobra. Remembering to come to whichever variation of cobra feels good for you. And exhaling, coming all the way back down to taking the forehead on the mats. Inhaling, lifting yourself all the way up and coming all the way back up into that neutral tabletop position. And then curling through the toes, lifting up through the tailbone, taking yourself all the way back into a downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then inhaling, lifting that right leg and taking that right leg all the way up to the sky into a three-legged dog. Exhaling, pulling that right knee all the way into the chest. And then gently dropping that right knee down beside that right wrist. And then taking the right toes just slightly out towards the side of the mat. And then wiggle that back leg back so you can come back onto the knee of that back leg and let go of the toes, coming through into our pigeon pose. So there's some variations for pigeon here. The classical Ashtanga version of pigeon, you would take your foot all the way out so that your knee was kind of at a right angle. It puts quite a lot of stress and strain on your knee, and it takes quite a long time to get there. So in order to protect the knee, I'd recommend that you keep your leg in more towards the left hip here. You still get that opening up through that right hip, and that's what we're looking for here. So just hold here for a few breaths. Reaching up nice and tall through those ribs, taking the shoulders back and down, and just hold here. Breathing nice and deeply, looking for that release through that right hip. Well done, guys. And then from here, slowly start to come back onto the toes of that back left foot. And then lifting yourself up through the core, taking that right knee all the way into the chest. And then taking that right leg back towards the left. And gently walk and pedal your dog just for a moment here. And then from here, inhaling, lifting up that left leg, taking that left leg all the way to the sky into that three-legged dog. Exhaling, pulling that left knee all the way into the chest and hugging into the chest. And then gently dropping that left knee down beside that left wrist. And then sliding that right leg back so you can let go of the toes and sit back through into that left hip. So looking for an opening here through that left hip. Again, if you want to, you can start to angle that left foot further out to come to a right angle, but I don't like it. I don't think it's good for your knees, but if you're used to doing that and that's where your pigeon is, then by all means go there. But to be safe, if you're not used to doing it, keep that left ankle and heel tucked in towards that right hip. You still get the opening up through that left hip, protecting the knee joints. Inhaling nice and deeply, reaching up through that spine, taking the shoulders back from the ears, engaging through that pelvic floor, engaging our bandhas. And then from here, gently coming back up onto those right toes, and then lifting up through the core, lifting that knee in towards the chest, and then stepping that left leg back towards the right. And gently walk and pedal your dog here just for a moment. And then from here, looking forward towards the hands at the front of the mat, taking a bend through the knees. You can either hop or you can just step gently up towards your hands. It's your choice, it's your yoga practice. If you're coming with me and you're going to hop, then bending through the elbows, bending through the knees, engaging through the core, and hopping those legs up towards the feet. And coming back into a forward fold. Remembering your toes can be together, or if it's more comfortable for you, you can take your legs hip-width distance apart. You choose wherever feels good for you, wherever you're at in your yoga practice. Remember, you can keep a bend through the knees here if you need to do that to get your hands onto the mat, or you can start to straighten out through the legs. Inhaling and exhaling. And then gently coming back through as though we're going to sit down in a chair with the hips, lifting the arms up in line with the ears. And then as you inhale, lifting yourself all the way back up through that core, reaching all the way up to the sky. And then exhaling, taking your hands to your heart center. Samastitihi. Well done, everybody. Take a nice deep inhale. A nice long exhale. Moving through into our Utkatasana, our chair pose. We'll do some twisted chairs today. I'll come this way so you guys can see. So again, for chair, you have the option of keeping your feet together, if that's where you're at today, where you're used to practicing chair. If you have any lower back issues, and we're in discomfort when keeping your feet together, you can take your feet hip-width distance apart and come through chair with your feet hip-width distance apart. So you choose whatever feels good for you, however you want to come through into your chair. So inhaling as you inhale, gently lowering through the legs, taking the arms up towards the sky, as though you're about to sit down in a chair, taking those hips back in space. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. And then gently taking the hands down to the heart center into Anjali Mudra, and then start to twist your torso around to the right, and then take that left elbow onto that right knee and open yourself up and come through into that twist. Remember to engage through that core, lifting and looking up over that right shoulder. Trying to keep the knees parallel to one another, not letting one leg go in front of the other, one knee go in front of the other. And then gently release, coming all the way back to the center. And then we'll repeat on the other side, taking that right elbow onto that left knee and looking up over that left shoulder, coming through that twist through the torso. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, remembering the knees parallel. And then gently release, coming back to the center. And then coming all the way back up to standing. Excellent, guys. Stepping up to the top of your mat, moving through another Surya Namaskara A. Remembering the toes can be together or they can be hip width distance apart. Shoulders back, down and back away from the ears, navel lifted in and up, pelvic floor engaged. Inhaling, taking the arms up to the side or taking them through the midline of the body. Exhaling, coming all the way back down through into that forward fold. Straight legs or bent legs, wherever you're at tonight in your practice. Inhaling, coming halfway up into our L shape, taking the hands onto the shins and using that traction to lengthen out through that spine. Exhaling, coming all the way back down into that forward fold. Inhaling, taking a step back with one leg and then taking a step back with the other leg and pushing yourself back into that downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then inhaling, lifting up that right leg, coming all the way into that three-legged dog. Exhaling, pulling that right knee all the way into the chest, and then dropping that right foot in between the hands at the front of the mat. And then from here, taking that right foot and walking it over towards that right thumb, checking you've got roughly about a hip width distance between your feet in terms of the width of the mat for a nice stable base as we come into our high lunge. So from here, inhaling, and as you inhale, think about lengthening through that spine. Nice long spine, shoulders away from the ears, navel in and up. As you exhale, taking a soft bend through that back knee, and then start to lift up through that core as you gently pull yourself back up into standing, coming into our high lunge, crescent lunge. Moving through some dynamic lunges. Inhaling, as you inhale, taking the arms up over your head, straightening up through the arms, straightening up through the legs. Exhaling, bending through the knee, coming all the way down into that lunge. Inhaling, reaching up, getting our balance. Exhaling, dropping down. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, lunging down. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, dropping down. And one more time, inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling and holding here in our high lunge. And then gently taking the hands over that front leg, taking the hands outside that right foot, and gently dropping down onto that left knee, letting go of those left toes. And then from here, moving through our half splits dynamically. So inhaling, as you inhale, start to take the hips back, and then lifting up through that front heel, and coming up and taking the front toes up towards the sky, straightening out that front leg, coming into our half splits. Exhaling, dropping that right foot down again, and taking yourself forward, coming into that low lunge. Inhaling, coming back into the half split, straightening out that front leg. Exhaling, bending through that front knee, coming into that low lunge. And then one more time, coming back through into that half splits and just holding here just for a moment or two, breathing into that right hamstring. And then exhaling, coming all the way back forward. And then from here, coming up onto the toes of that back left foot. And then letting that left foot fall, the sole of the foot fall to the mat, checking your heels are roughly in alignment here as we get ready to set up for warrior two. So from here, inhaling, as you inhale, lifting yourself up, keeping a bend through that front right knee, and then taking the arms up to shoulder height, coming into our warrior two pose. Moving dynamically through our warrior two. Inhaling, taking the arms up towards the sky, straightening out that front leg. Exhaling, falling back into warrior two. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, coming into warrior two. Inhaling, reaching up. And exhaling and holding here in our warrior two pose. And then exhaling, taking our hands onto the hips, coming into our Ardha Chandrasana, our half moon pose. Taking that back foot slightly in towards the front foot. And then from here, taking your weight over that front right leg, starting to lift up that back leg, coming through into our half moon. Taking your hands on your fingertips of that right hand onto the mat or onto the floor about a foot in front of you, maybe holding onto a chair or holding onto the sofa if it's handy, which my sofa is. But that would be cheating, and I better not do that. So inhaling, taking that left arm all the way up to the sky, taking that left leg all the way up to the sky, opening through the hips, opening up through the shoulders, and holding here in our balance. If you want to start playing with the balance, you can start to play with lifting that right hand up off the mats and holding, and then gently release, taking that left leg back down. Start to walk the hands round to the middle of your mats, and then from here, just gently come down onto your knees, and then gently come down to a seated position. Well done, guys. And then from here, coming to our Baddha Konasana, taking the soles of the feet together, just letting the knees fall out to the side, and then just sitting back just for a moment in our Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together, knees falling out to the side, just opening up through the hips, taking the weight gently back through the hands, just letting that sacral area, that SI joints reset. Lifting the hips up, and maybe taking them slightly closer towards the heels if you can. If that's not for you today, then stay where you were and just hold here just for a few breaths, encouraging an opening through the hips, an opening through the inner thighs, keeping that chest nice and open, sitting up nice and tall through that spine. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. Well done, everybody. And then from here, taking the knees gently together, and then just roll over and come onto your hands and knees, facing the other direction on your mat if you can. And then from here, pushing up through into that downward facing dog. Inhaling, lifting up that left leg, coming into a three-legged dog. Exhaling, taking that left knee all the way into the chest, and then dropping that left foot down beside that left hand, coming into setting up for our dynamic lunges. Checking that the feet are about a hip width distance apart in terms of the length of the mat. In width of the mat, sorry. Inhaling, lengthening through that spine. Exhaling, take a soft bend through that back knee, engaging through that core and lifting yourself all the way back up into that high lunge. Moving through a dynamic lunge, inhaling, taking the arms up the midline of the body, stretching the arms all the way up to the sky, stretching out through both legs. Exhaling, bending through that front knee, taking the hands down into fists at your waist. Inhaling, reaching up through the midline. Exhaling, coming down to fists at the waist. Inhaling, reaching up through that midline of the body. Exhaling, coming down through fists. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, fists to waist. Inhaling, reaching up, and last time, holding here just for a few breaths. Well done. Gently taking the hands outside that front left foot, dropping down onto that back right knee, letting go of those right toes, setting up for our half splits dynamically. So from here, inhaling, taking your hips back towards over your knee, and then straightening out that left leg, taking the toes up towards the sky. Exhaling, coming all the way forward into that low lunge. Inhaling, taking the hips back, lifting up through that front toes towards the sky. Exhaling, coming all the way back into that low lunge. And then last time here, holding in our half splits, keeping that core engaged, keeping the shoulders away from the ears, just holding and feeling that opening up through that left hamstring. Exhaling, coming all the way forward back into that low lunge. Coming up onto the toes of that back right foot, and then swiveling that right foot so the sole of the foot's on the mats, maybe about a 45-degree angle through the foot. Heels roughly in alignment here, keeping a bend through that front knee, lifting yourself up, engaging through that core, coming all the way up into our warrior two pose. Inhaling nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. Moving through dynamic warrior, inhaling, lifting the arms all the way up to the sky, stretching out through that front leg. Exhaling, coming back into warrior two. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, dropping into that warrior two. Inhaling, reaching up, and exhaling, coming all the way back into that warrior two, and holding here, opening through the hips, opening up through the chest. Exhaling, taking hands onto the hips. Gently walking that right foot more towards the left foot. Start to take the weight in towards that left foot, coming through into our half moon. taking the left hand down onto the floor, about a foot in front of us to get our balance, taking that right leg up towards the sky, taking that left arm up towards the sky, opening up through the hips, opening up through the shoulders, finding a drishti point, engaging through that core to help our balance. Holding onto a chair if you need to here. And then gently you can start to play with your balance by taking those left fingertips off the floor. And then gently release, letting go of that right leg. And then taking the hands to the middle of the mat. And again, from here, just dropping down onto your knees. And then slowly taking yourself back onto a nice, easy seat. Moving into our Bharadvajasana. I can't say that one. Into a twist. That's what we'll do. So from here, taking our left leg, bending at the knee and just taking that left leg slightly behind us. And then taking that right foot and just placing it against that left thigh. So just opening up here, bending both knees, feet behind us effectively, or towards the back of the mat. So that left knee's bent, left foot towards the back of the mat, the right knee's bent, kind of coming in towards that left thigh. Sitting up nice and tall, just start to take yourself around. So taking that left hand and placing it on that right knee, and feel yourself twisting and opening up to the sides as you gently take yourself and look over that right shoulder. So opening up through that left hip, you should feel a nice stretch through that left hip, and a nice opening up through the heart, and a twist through the torso. Breathing here nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, finding the length through the torso as you then find that twist. And then gently release, coming all the way back to the center. And then we'll repeat on the other side. So swinging the legs around. And then from here, taking that right leg behind you, bending at that right knee. And then taking that left foot and just bending through the knee, placing that left foot against that right thigh. So again, just starting to twist around, taking the torso around to the left. And then taking that right hand, gently placing on that left knee, and then turning yourself around and using that left hand to help you get that twist. If you already have the twist, you can take that left hand and just gently take it behind you this way. But sometimes it's nice to have that left hand there just for that support. And it also helps encourage that opening up through the chest, lifting up nice and tall and then twisting around. Remembering to breathe nice and deeply, exhale nice and slowly. Should feel a nice opening up through that right hip and opening up through the chest, and then that twist through the torso. And then gently release, coming back to the center. Well done, everybody. Pushing yourself up onto your knees, and then gently coming around into a tabletop. And then from the tabletop position, taking the hips back over the heels and pull yourself back into the child's pose and hold in child's pose just for a moment or two. Well done. And then coming up. And then from here, starting to walk the hands out in front of you, coming into our puppy pose. So leaving the knees and the feet where they are, just start to gently walk the hands forward and come into puppy pose wherever you may be in puppy pose. Your head may be on the mat, or your nose or your chin, if you're super duper flexible through that thoracic spine. You may be able to get your chest onto the mat. Just come to wherever feels good for you, wherever you can feel that nice opening through the shoulders, the nice opening through the back. This is such a good counter pose for all the screen time we have, hunched over mobile phones, in front of computer screens. It's really good for opening up through the shoulders, encouraging a release through that thoracic spine, which is inherently quite inflexible for most people.
So really encouraging that mobility through that area of the spine really helps keep that spine nice and healthy. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. And then gently release, coming all the way forward, coming onto the forearms, coming into our Sphinx pose. So resting on our forearms, palms of our hands on the mat, our elbows just roughly underneath our shoulders, tops of the toes lying on the mat. And just holding here in the Sphinx pose, feeling the opening up through the chest. And then gently start to take the neck and the head and start to take the head around in nice easy circles. Opening up through that neck, taking a range of movement through the neck, encouraging that neck and that head and that top of the spine, the shoulders, just to relax. One more time this way, and then as you get to the top, just gently stop and then start to take your head round in nice big circles in the opposite direction. Maybe feeling some clunks and clicks through the neck as you gently take it all the way around in nice big circles. Well done, guys. And then from here, start to push yourself back up into that tabletop. Taking that right knee, crossing over the left, and then sitting back over onto your heels, coming back to sitting on the mat. Well done. So moving into Virasana, our hero pose. So for some people, you may need to grab a block, and I'll show you what you can do with a block or a pillow. If you're not naturally an internal rotator of your hips, then this might be quite difficult, might be quite challenging, and other people find it really easy. So see how you go. So taking the knees together, probably this way to demonstrate, take the knees together and then start to take the feet out towards the sides of your mat. And then from here, you may easily be able to just sit back and take yourself back in between your heels and sit here nice and easily. So some people, this is really easy, it's not a problem. Other people find it a little bit more difficult just in terms of the way that their bones are structured. If you are finding it difficult, grab a block or two or a pillow. And if you can take it to the highest setting if you want to be here and hold here, or you can take it to the second setting and hold here. Or if you want to come down to the lowest setting, you can hold here. So you come to wherever version of Virasana, hero pose, feels good for you, and just hold for a few breaths. Sitting on a block or a pillow, opening up through the hips, just letting everything release. Nice, long, tall spine. Well done, everybody. And then slowly, gently start to lift yourself back up, moving the block or the pillow out of the way if you were using a block or a pillow, and taking your legs back, coming back into that neutral tabletop, and then maybe from here, gently tapping the feet against the mats. And then tucking through the toes, taking the hips back over the heels and lifting yourself all the way back up into that downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. Well done. And then gently dropping down onto the knees. And then from here, coming over to lying on our back. Keeping a bend through the knees here, moving through into our bridge breathing here. So bend through the knees, taking the feet, placing them down on the mat about a hip width distance apart. Letting the shoulders relax into the mat, taking the hands just outside the hips. And then as you inhale, starting to lift up through the hips, and at the same time as you lift up through the hips, lifting the arms up and taking them up over your head. Exhaling, dropping down through the hips as you drop the arms back down to the sides. Inhaling, lifting up through the hips, coming through into that bridge, taking the arms all the way behind you. Exhaling, dropping down, feeling yourself coming down vertebra by vertebra as you slowly lower that spine and the hands back down onto the mat.
Inhaling, lifting all the way up, taking the arms up behind you, hips up towards the sky. Exhaling, coming all the way back down. And one more time, inhaling, lifting the hips all the way up to the sky, taking the arms all the way behind you. And exhaling, just gently coming all the way back down. Taking the knees in towards your chest, giving yourself a nice big hug here, hugging the knees in towards the chest, coming into our Apanasana, our wind relieving pose. Inhaling and exhaling, hugging the knees towards the chest. Maybe taking the hands onto the knees and starting to move the knees around in circles. Moving through those hip sockets one way and then gently coming around the other way. Returning to that breath. Nice long inhales, nice long exhales. Well done. And then pulling your knees back into your chest, giving yourself a nice big hug. And then from here, taking the feet together, soles of the feet together, letting your feet touch the mat, letting the knees just drop out to the side, returning to our supine Baddha Konasana. Taking both hands, just gently resting them on your belly here, letting the shoulders relax into the mat. Letting the hips relax into the mat and just letting the knees open to their own degree. Just letting gravity take effect. Don't push or pull. Just let the knees open in their own time. Breathing nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. And as you inhale, feeling that belly lifting as you fill up the lungs with air and fill up that belly with air. And as you exhale, feeling the hands slowly lower as the belly starts to deflate. Inhaling again. Just noticing the effect the air has when you're taking the oxygen into your lungs. Filling your body with the life force, the prana. And exhaling, completely letting go of all that air, all that stale air, so you can make room for all that new fresh air. One more time, breathing in nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. Well done. And then from here, letting the arms just fall out to the side, and then letting go of the legs. Letting the legs just fall out to the side of your mat, gently closing your eyes, setting up for our Shavasana, our relaxation pose. The most important pose of our practice. This is where we can seal in all that good energy, all that positive work that we've done throughout the class. Sealing it all in, sealing all that goodness in. By taking the next few minutes just for you to relax, let go, let that whole body reset, switch off the monkey mind, let go of all thoughts, feeling yourself relaxing into the mat, feeling the hips sinking into the mat, feeling the shoulders sinking into the mat. Letting the legs relax, letting the arms relax. Maybe having the palms facing up towards the sky to receive from the universe. But if you want to feel more grounded, then please feel free to take the hands and place the palms face down onto the earth. Whatever feels good for you tonight, however feels good for you. Letting go of that control of the breath, just letting the breath return to its normal cadence. And then from here, imagining a bright blue star. And that bright blue star comes and just gently lands on your forehead. And as it lands on your forehead, just above your third eye, it reminds you to let go of all thoughts. It reminds you to relax the mind as well as the body. And that blue star starts to make its way down towards that right shoulder, and it gently taps the right shoulder. And as it taps the right shoulder, you feel yourself letting go of all the tension through that right shoulder. It then taps the right elbow and the right wrist, the right thumb, the right index finger, the right middle finger, the right ring finger, and the right pinky finger, before coming to rest in the palm of that right hand, letting all the tension go from that right arm. And then starts to travel back up your right arm, tapping your right wrist, your right elbow, and your right shoulder, before moving over to that left shoulder, letting all the tension go from the left shoulder, the left elbow, the left wrist, the left thumb, the left index finger, the left middle finger, the left ring finger, and the left pinky finger, before coming and resting on that left hand, on the palm of the left hand. Feeling the whole left arm relaxing into the mat. That blue star then taps your left wrist, your left elbow, and your left shoulder. It then comes to rest in your heart center, just above your heart. Letting go of all that negative emotions. Moving down to rest above your navel, sitting over that solar plexus. Coming down to the right hip, tapping that right hip, that right knee, right ankle, right big toe, before tapping each individual toe on that right foot one by one. Feeling the whole of the right leg just relaxing into the mats. That blue star then taps your right ankle, your right knee, your right hip, before coming over to that left hip and resting on that left hip, reminding you to let go of all tension through that left hip. Tapping that left knee, left ankle, left big toe, and then each individual toe on that left foot one by one. Your whole left leg is now fully relaxed into the mats. Tapping that left ankle, the left knee, that left hip, before coming to rest over your navel, and then over your heart center, and then making its way back up to the middle of your forehead to your third eye. You are now completely relaxed into your mats. All tensions left the body. The mind's quiet. And then from here, imagining a bright white light above your head. That bright white light's full of energy, pulsing with energy. And as you breathe in that white light, and it comes in through the crown of your head. And it starts to make its way down your spine. And as it makes its way down your spine, it starts to branch off all the nerves from your spine, traveling down all those nerves through your arms and your legs, And it branches off those nerve endings, entering every cell of the body. As it enters every cell of the body, it starts to fill up that cell with that bright white light, pulsing with all that energy. Feeling every cell in your body being energized with that white light. Inhaling nice and deeply, taking the arms all the way up above your head, giving yourself a nice full long body stretch, stretching out through the legs, stretching out through the arms. Inhaling, pulling yourself and taking your knees all the way into your chest. Giving yourself a nice big hug here, maybe gently rocking from side to side, massaging through that spine. And then slowly rocking over onto your right hand side if you can, coming to rest on your right hand side in a fetal position, just for a moment, just for a pulse, letting that central nervous system reset. And then slowly, gently in your own time, start to make your way back up into a nice easy seat, coming up into that nice easy seat, sitting up nice and tall. Inhaling nice and deeply, and as you inhale, taking the full inhale, filling up those lungs, and as you exhale, sighing it all out. Inhaling again, exhaling, sighing it out. Inhaling again, nice and deeply. Exhaling, sighing it all out. Well done, everybody. Taking your hands into your heart center in Anjali Mudra, finishing with a nice big Om. So breathing in, filling up the lungs, filling up the belly. From my heart to yours, namaste. Hope you enjoyed your yoga practice this evening. Hope you're enjoying your Omming, and hope you have a nice evening, and hopefully see you again soon. Namaste.